This is my city review for Tallahassee, Florida, the capital of Florida that is on the panhandle, and it doesn't look like the rest of Florida. There's no beaches, there's not that many palm trees, and it's not completely flat. Instead, it has a capitol building that looks a certain way from a certain angle. It has these very tall pine trees, and it also has hills that are actually about 100 feet different in height. I lived in Tallahassee for 4 years, yes, as a college student, so I'm not really going to talk that much about like Bradfordville or like Southwood or like that. It's the community on like the southeastern part of Tallahassee. Like I ran there once, but it's really detached from the capital, downtown, midtown area of Tallahassee, which is more what I'll talk about. And then I'll just talk about all the interesting things in Tallahassee. So for sure, my top three things coming out of Tallahassee that I love, even though they might be basic, I loved Cascades Park. I think it's one of the best parks in Florida, even though it's just a city park. It has a mile running loop. It has these different memorials. It has some fountains, fountains that like are actually just like cascading fountains that mimic real life waterfalls, and then some like fountains that you could just run your kids through. And it's just an amazing, beautiful, modern park. Cascades, number one in my top three. Number two would be to go to Madison Social in College Town and get the BLT dip. I know it's basic, but it's just very enjoyable, and the environment, even though it's a bit overpriced, it's just a good, satisfying experience. And they also, Madison Social actually has like drinks of the month, and then if you drink all the drinks of the month, I think there's like 5 of them, you get a free t-shirt. So that's a little something that you could do every single month at Madso, which adds to the appeal. And then number 3 is Amicus Trivia. I'm sure every city has their own trivia, but Amicus, they get like 30 groups of trivia people to go out there. I think like every Thursday at 7, and it's just a good time, always rotating flavors of beers, and it's just a good time. So that's my top 3 to Tallahassee. People will have wildly different top 3s. Some people might mention completely different food places. And of course, with Tallahassee, a lot of food places come and go. I mean, literally my 4-year time span, so many places went bankrupt and got swapped out from another one. Like I was collecting like the Thanos Infinity Stones, places on my Apple Maps with pins where it says like closed forever. So like you have Max's Cheesecakes, Prime Time that was on Tennessee Street, just so many places that are just like rattling off right here. And one that really hit home recently was Poor Paul's. It was a dive bar that was around in Tallahassee for over 50 years, and it recently closed down, and I don't think it's going to reopen. So that's another tragic loss. So in the city of Tallahassee, a lot of places, a lot of food places that you might like at one point might not be there in the next year, honestly. Like yay, Tallahassee finally got Wawa stores, but the farm store that was there only lasted for like 4 months. So how long do these places last in Tallahassee? No one is really sure. Here are some places quickly that I've listed over the years that have gone bankrupt. I Heart Mac and Cheese, Voodoo Dog, Lindsay's Chicken, Chubby's Chicken, All Saints Cafe, and Burrito Border, and there's a bunch of other places that I'm sure I'm missing. There was a barbecue place that people loved that went away. So in Tallahassee, you gotta cherish what you have, because it won't be there for long sometimes when it comes to the restaurants. Another interesting thing about Tallahassee is that it used to have an Amtrak rail service. If you're familiar with Tallahassee's layout as a city, I mean, shout out this like early 1900s or late 1800s photo or drawing of the Tallahassee city landscape. You can see like the Capitol building, and you can see Gain Street and the railroad on the bottom. So I'm gonna be talking about the railroad section. Now it actually has a bunch of development around it. FAMU is right south of it, and FSU is right north of it. But around that railroad, there's actually like an abandoned, basically train station. It's now been converted to a city office and a little bit of like a mini museum. But there used to be an Amtrak. It used to be called the Sunset Limited, and it was running until Hurricane Katrina wiped it out. And Amtrak, I don't know if it's because of funding, but it's never been back and running. And I could tell you the only way to get from Tallahassee to Orlando and Miami via public transit is a bus, and it takes like 12 hours via bus to get from Tallahassee to Miami. Miserable experience. By car, it takes like 7 hours to get from Tallahassee to Miami. So a lot of students have to do that for like all the winter breaks and summer breaks and spring breaks. So that's just something I had to deal with. And sometimes took like the red coach from Tallahassee to Orlando, and then took the bright line. Thankfully, that opened up from Orlando to Miami to get a bit faster travel. Tallahassee not having any access to even Amtrak is just me thinking, oh, I wish this country was Japan or Europe, so we could just have regional cities being connected all over the place with public transit, but sadly not. One interesting fact about Tallahassee is that it's actually its own electricity grid. It's not attached to FPL. It has its own natural gas plants. About 95% of its electricity is natural gas, even though it is a forward-thinking town. If you spot like City of Tallahassee cars, most of them are Chevy Bolts or Nissan Leafs. So they're electric cars. They're installing a brand new like EV charger alongside FAMU Way soon. So they're trying to think forward, and they also have a brand new like transit center coming with electric buses. So they're a city that tries to think forward, but only 5% of the city's energy right now is renewable, and that's due to some solar farms around the airport. And by the way, Tallahassee does have an airport, but for being Florida's capital, it doesn't compare at all to the airports of Orlando and the Miami urban area. Those airports are probably one of the best for cost in terms of the United States. While Tallahassee, if you want a flight from Tallahassee to Miami round trip, it's going to be $200 minimum, unless you get a really good deal. I mean, there's only like 3 airlines at the Tallahassee airport. One of them just went bankrupt, Silver Airways, and then another one, JetBlue, just backed out of doing their Miami to Tallahassee flight. So Tallahassee airport is a bit rough around the edges, but yeah, it's fine. And then of course, Tallahassee has a great bus network. I think it's like $2 for a ride. And then there's a hub near the Capitol that basically all bus routes passes through. And Tallahassee has a Costco. It's a pretty recent new Costco, and right by that Costco is actually my favorite movie theater. It's like CMX. It's better than the abandoned mall AMC. Anyways, Tallahassee does have a Costco, but it doesn't have a Cheesecake Factory, while Gainesville has a Cheesecake Factory but doesn't have a Costco. So it's give and take there. So the tallest point in Florida is about 300 feet, and that's more west of Tallahassee. The tallest points in Tallahassee get about to 200 feet, but it's some rolling hills, and you get like these beautiful tree canopies. And there's certain hills in Tallahassee, if you're running them especially, you're like, holy smokes, this incline is a lot. And it's just a nice change up from the rest of Florida, where it's just like flat, and more flat. And Tallahassee actually has a little bit of some seasons. You'll get actually some fall colors mixed in there with some of the trees, and it gets a bit cooler. I mean, it literally just snowed 10 inches in the panhandle of Florida this year. I mean, this will be outdated very fast. But yes, Tallahassee gets season. It gets below freezing occasionally, and it snows on average once every 15 years. Yes, that snow that happens at once every 15 years, it's more like flurries rather than measurable snowfall. Measurable snowfall is basically once in every 50 to 75 years, but it does get snow, and it also gets tornadoes. I mean, tornadoes in Florida don't really happen, but a tornado did actually ravage right through almost the heart of Tallahassee. 3 of them actually, 3 different tornadoes. Very odd weather time while I was there for my 4 years. Tallahassee also got brushed by 2 hurricanes, Helene and Idalia. Hurricane Matthew didn't really affect Tallahassee that much. It was more west, closer towards Panama City, Mexico Beach area. But Tallahassee's weather, a bit more spicy compared to Miami, which is basically like the one-tone tropical vibe. Some of my favorite parts of Tallahassee are, no, not the clubs, even though bowls, as the locals call it, Bullwinkles, they have like these occasional $15 to $20 all-you-can-drink nights. Those are my favorite night outs back when I was a college student. They also have Recess, which is in College Town, and other places. You have pods closer to the Capitol, Clydes and Bajas. Those are like the big ones. You also have the gay bar that's north of Tennessee Street. I think it's called like 926, something like that. But yes, there's a college bar scene if you want that. But my favorite parts of Tallahassee were things created in the last basically 2 decades. So sorry, Coliseum, which got replaced for the College Target, and then Raisins Cane's right by it. It's basically Cascades Park, FAMU Way, and the Gain Street College Town area. Those are my favorite parts of Tallahassee, and honestly my favorite parts to run at. But just to walk and get food and hang out at those spots, it brings me joy. I mean, FAMU Way has roundabouts, it has these massive wide pedestrian sidewalks, it has added loops for trails, it has this really cool Snake Rattler skate park. It leads to Cascades Park, which I've already talked about. And then Gain Street, you could do like the Google Earth slider, and it is just night and day between all those years ago. It doesn't even look like Tallahassee at all, or it looks like the more, I guess, suburban parts to Tallahassee, even though there's not really that much urban development to Tallahassee. It's all really a suburb. But the outskirts of Tallahassee kind of look like how Gain Street looked 20 years ago. But that part is completely new, and then there's even a bunch of new construction alongside the Tennessee Street on the northern side by the FSU campus. And I mean, a lot of things are just changing in FSU right now. They have a brand new business building, but I won't talk too much about FSU. That I didn't know when I first was going to Tallahassee was how great the running scene is. By far my favorite race that even if you're just not that much of a runner, you should do is the Palace Saloon 5K. It's a super cheap 5K that is at Palace Saloon. It's basically like another dive bar in Tallahassee. Tallahassee is hosting the cross country championships in 2026. They have an annual marathon that's been going on for over 50 years, and it's just a really great running scene. There's run clubs, the Gulf Winds Run Club is big there, and it controls a lot of the races there. So if you ever need to get into the running scene, just follow what they're doing. Tallahassee is that type of city where it has a lot, but it doesn't have everything. There's no ice rink. The airport is kind of meh, but it sure does have a bunch of chicken tender places. Oh, and I didn't even mention this, but Taco Soul was this taco place that was east of the Capitol. It was my favorite food place in Tallahassee. I should probably talk about my favorite food places now. But that was like near the top, and it wasn't really like a chain. El Jalisco was like a local chain to the Panhandle, Florida area. That's a pretty good Mexican restaurant, I won't lie. I mean, obviously I haven't tried all the Tallahassee food spots, especially since I was a cheap and frugal college student, but some of my favorite spots was Cool Beans Cafe I went to for a birthday. That has a quality changing menu that they care about their food a lot there for sure. Bella Bella is a solid place if you don't want to go to Olive Garden. Little Athens Gyro is a little petite food place right near FSU. So is Cafe Jerusalem. Hopefully that's still open. The Bark is a really grungy, awesome vegan restaurant. They have like karaoke nights. They host local bands. The Bark is honestly an essential part to like the emo Tallahassee scene. I love the Bark. A lot of people from Tallahassee might swear by Gordo's, and that might just be white people immigrating in from like northern countries, because Gordo's is really a terrible excuse for a Cuban restaurant. It's very, very, very Americanized Cuban food, but it's decent Cuban food. It does have love, especially for its signs on the front of its restaurant. It like puts like different like slogans or one-line memes. It gets a laugh sometimes when you're driving by it. And I don't think I could finish off this Tallahassee city review without talking about Chile and Chile. It's a taco food truck all out on like the west skirts of Tallahassee. Majestic perfection in tacos, super authentic. That place is excellent. Momo Pizza is solid for late night if you just want a bunch of calories. Fermentation Lounge is a nice cozy bar with a changing menu for beer. Essence of India is a decent Indian restaurant. There used to be this Straw Hat Cafe place, which kind of scaled back and partnered with someone else. It used to be like One Piece themed. There used to be a One Piece themed restaurant in Tallahassee, a city with a population of around 200,000. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but it was there for a little bit. I mean, Tallahassee big enough where it has kava. I think it got kava before Miami, actually. It has a rooftop bar called Charlie's Park. It has other rooftop bars. The bar 1805 is a pretty cool historic spot. There's a bunch of cool spots in Tallahassee, and there's a lot of room to discover if you are a foodie. There's not really only like 10 options. There's like 150 that you could go through with just local mom and pop restaurants. And I think there's a place really called like Mom and Dad's like pasta or something, like Mom and Poppy's or something. Italian restaurant. I never got to go to it, but it was there. I went to Backwoods Crossing one time. That was pretty good food. I enjoyed what I had there. I would go again. A lot of food options in Tallahassee. I didn't really try too many places closer towards like Bradfordville, and I never really went to Thomasville in Alabama or Georgia. Yeah, I mean, Tallahassee is very close to Alabama and Georgia state border. That's like a day trip you can make if you just want to see a border. Nothing special about it, but I know a lot of people in Tallahassee get excited about crossing that state border. His new state unlocked. How can you not? But I think Tallahassee's park system is better than the park system in most cities in America. I would say the Lafayette Park, which is in relation to the character in Hamilton, the Lafayette, Tom Brown, and J.R. Alfred Greenway, that combo, you can see like deer while walking those trails. They have a good amount of hills and tall trees. It's wonderful park trails. There's Debbie Lightyear closer to the airport. The airport's now putting in a big sidewalk. There's really endless great parks. I've already talked about Cascades, and you just can't complain with the park system in Tallahassee. It seems like they really care about their parks, and they have a bunch of miles of trails. By far the best hotel in Tallahassee is Hotel Indigo. It's brand new, but if you are going at any popular time ever, you are going to pay up for it. Fermentation Lounge is a great local spot for just beer if you want that. It's similar to Amicus, but a little bit more intimate. Of course, you have Florida State football, the huge Doak Campbell Stadium, which recently got some upgrades. You have the brand new football facility that you could look into. FSU has the brand new Union building, the brand new business building. You could walk around both FAMU and FSU and just admire the sights. And also TCC, now TFC, also has a decent campus, and that's where the tornado actually went through. Does Tallahassee really need a Jack-in-the-Box? I don't think so, but overall it's a great town. I would say the Tallahassee Museum is a bit of a misnomer. It should be called the Tallahassee Zoo. There's more animals than like historic artifacts, even though I think they do have this picture right here, which is like the famous picture of Tallahassee all the way back then. You can walk around Lake Ella and just go to Black Dog Cafe. That's a pretty local thing to do. You could go to the top of the Capitol building, the old Capitol building, not the new one. You could visit the old one and go to the new one. Then go to the top and then just see a bunch of Florida pictures if you want. Florida has a bunch of natural springs, so there's like a Leon Sink nearby that you can take a 1 mile walk to. Wakulla Springs is there if you want to do a boat tour. Wakulla Lodge is there too. That's about like a 30-minute drive from the middle of Tallahassee. So basically the equivalent to going to like Bradfordville, which is like kind of like a suburb extension of Tallahassee. They have an outdoor mall there. I actually never went to that outdoor mall. Tallahassee does have an abandoned mall and a non-abandoned mall. I think it's called Governor's Square. But yeah, if you go inside Governor's Square, it feels eerie and sort of dilapidated, but not too much though. You have Providence Canyon State Park, which is a state park in Georgia. It is a man-made canyon, but it still does look really dope. If you want a beach, you could take the St. Mark's Trail all the way to the St. Mark's Lighthouse. A really great running and biking trail. We'll see other people on it. But that beach is more of a swamp. You have Alligator Point, which could suffice as a beach, not the greatest. And if you really want a true beach that's equivalent to most of Florida's beaches, you have to go all the way to St. George Island, which is a 2-hour drive, and I only did that once. That's all I really have to say about Tallahassee. If you don't want to tour the FSU campus and see that globe inside of the EOAS building. There's not that many things for you to do here. The Florida Museum is closed for the next few years. That would be interesting. Lichgate is really just a tree. I saw an outdoor play there. There's some like older plantation homes that I've never visited, even though they were free, that I probably should have at one point. Seven Brew is like a Dutch Bros in Tallahassee if you want your coffee fix. But yeah, there's always interesting things around the corner in Tallahassee. You have like the springtime parade. You have them installing an old replica of the wooden Capitol building from all those centuries ago down at the Cascades Park. So there's a lot of interesting things that go on in Tallahassee. Is it always the best looking city? No. Is every part of the city glimmering and shining? No. It's a city that many people enjoy, and if you're not really into that big urban lifestyle and you really don't need an indoor ski park, or most cities don't have that, but you don't really need a lot of the amenities of a bigger city, like a really solid airport, or I don't know, like the ice rink I mentioned. Tallahassee just got a brand new fast food place called Sliders. It looks like Whataburger, which is actually in Tallahassee, by the way. If you ever want Whataburger, like a late night chicken biscuit, you could get a Whataburger here, which is not in the rest of Florida, which adds to the little oddity that makes Tallahassee unique. It has Whataburger, it has hills, it has a Capitol. The rest of Florida doesn't really have that. But that's all I'll talk about for Tallahassee for right now. Will I revisit? Probably. I'm sure I'll revisit my old college town, see how it grows up. But until then, that's it for me here, reporting on my thoughts on Tallahassee, Florida.